Maker's Mark BEP. The beep. Meep meep. The last dance for the Maker's Mark wood finishing series is here. For the last one, Maker's Mark is analyzing the impact of barrel entry proof, aka BEP. Weird thing is Maker's is kind of already known for entering the barrel at 110 proof instead of the more typical 125 proof, which was legalized back in 1962. So in actuality, Maker's hasn't changed the entry proof on this one. They're just enhancing it. So stick around to find out just how they did it. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, help grow the channel for 2023. Thank you for all the support, Whiskey Tube family. So, as I mentioned, the last release in the Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series, or the BEP, celebrates the 110 barrel entry proof that Maker's is already known for. So they're not really changing it, so what's the difference? 10 virgin toasted American oak staves are used in the barrel as finishing elements intended to amplify the impact of the 110 barrel entry proof. So this whiskey is designed to be more Maker's than regular Maker's Mark, essentially doubling down on the most iconic elements of its production process and the flavors you get from a typical Maker's Mark. So the Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series is a relatively young venture. In 2019, Maker's Mark introduced the Wood Finishing Series, which was the brand's first ever nationally available limited release. Over the next 5 years, the brand would go on to release multiple expressions. 2021 and 2022, we saw 2 releases each in those years. Maker's Mark always found that using a lower entry proof for its bourbon delivers more flavor, smoothness, and better quality, which is what this last BEP is all about. Alright, so before we dive into the review, let's hear from today's video sponsor just in time for Father's Day. It is Original Grain Watches. So let's talk about Original Grain. They've been making watches from unique materials for almost a decade. They make watches, sunglasses, rings, and more, inlaid with whiskey barrel that inspire connections, creates conversations, and commemorates milestones. So today I have an awesome offer for you guys just in time for Father's Day. Original Grain has been partnering with brands like Buffalo Trace, Indian Motorcycles, Taylor Guitars, and now Toyota TRD to create some of the most unique and meaningful timepieces you will find anywhere. And don't worry, if your dad isn't into whiskey, they also make watches from other sustainable materials like reclaimed tequila and beer barrels, reclaimed military ammo crates if they served in the military, sustainably sourced exotic woods, and more. So no matter what dad resonates with, there's a perfect watch just waiting for him. My favorite part of these watches is the detail. Each watch is carefully crafted. It really allows the unique materials to shine through. Something else really cool that Original Grain does is for every watch they sell, they plant a tree. The latest count, over 500,000 trees planted, which is pretty damn impressive. Also impressive is their buyback guarantee. So if you don't love the watch, they'll buy it back. Simple as that. They are a veteran and family-owned company started by 2 brothers in the Pacific Northwest. They offer free shipping, they have a great warranty, and amazing customer service. Your dad is worth it, so here's how you get one. Use code MASH at originalgrain.com/MASH to get 30% off a new timepiece today. They are running a 20% off for Father's Day, so using my code will give you an extra 10% off, making it a 30% off savings for Father's Day. There's a link below in the description as well, so give it a click and use code MASH at checkout and go get your dad a new Original Grain watch now for Father's Day. Cheers. Alright, so the stats on this one. Bottled at 109.6 proof. The mash bill is the standard Maker's Mark 70% corn, 16% wheat, 14% malted barley. This is a national release at a price of only 70 bucks. Alright, so last one, BEP. Are you sad to see this go? Let me know down in the comments, especially you Maker's Mark fans out there. Are you sad to see this series come to an end? You ready for the next thing, whatever that may be for Maker's Mark? Well, you know, let me know. We'll see. There's part of me that's sad to see it go, just because, I don't know, I'm kind of like feeling like, where does Maker's Mark go from here? Now that the wood finishing is kind of gone, you know, the private selects are out there with the, you know, the different mashups of staves that you can use, but there are a million of them out there. I wouldn't call them, you know, unique anymore. So where do they go from here? Do we finally see the 10 or 12 year age stated Maker's Mark come out at some point soon? Guess we'll find out. Let's dive into this one. So compared to the usual Maker's Mark that I'm used to, the Maker's Mark Bourbon, whether it be the cask strength, the regular Maker's Mark, or even the Maker's Mark 46, those to me have very wheat-forward components to it that I can usually smell. On this one, though, the sweetness is definitely amplified. There is a ton of brown sugar in here. I mean, it is brown sugar, brown butter. There's really no other way around it. I mean, you could say vanilla caramel, but I think the brown sugar, brown butter like type notes are kind of overpowering this. Because you have like that sweetness to it, but there's also that little bit of a toasted nuttiness too that I'm getting here. Toasted oak as well. And one of my favorite notes in whiskey, I get a ton of cinnamon here, which is kind of nice. Very sweet though. Man, what is that? I think it's just like that toasted oak. There's like this slight, very, very, very slight, almost like smokiness to it, I think, from those finishing oak staves. All right, let's give it a try, guys. Here we go. This is definitely a lot sweeter than what I'm used to with Makers. So if that's what they were going for with this, I think they nailed it. Is it mind-blowing? No. Is it groundbreaking? No. You know, we've talked about this barrel entry proof thing, you know, before. It seems to be a trend. We've already seen Woodford Reserve use it a little bit. But other distillers have been using barrel entry or lower barrel entry proofs, you know, for a long time. I mean, Wilderness Trail, Michter's, I think, is the lowest, going into 103 or 104, something like that. There's a lot of low barrel entry proofs out there. So it's nothing. I mean, if you see barrel entry proof, or, you know, we're changing the game using all these low barrel entry proof things, it's just marketing. People are using different entry proofs all across the whiskey industry at different points, different char levels. It's being done. So some of the big distillers using it as a marketing terminology in order to sell whiskey. I don't know. For me, if you don't know about it, if you don't know what's out there, you know, then I could see, you know, folks getting wrapped up in it. But that's why you watch The Master and Drum, to find out this stuff, right? Just saying. All right, next sip here. Total like almond cookie, man, toasted almond on top of like an almond cookie with vanilla, drizzle with caramel. I mean, that brown butter is still there. This is very sweet to me. You know, especially coming off, like normally I'm sipping like Wild Turkey and you know, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and stuff like that, where those can be sweet, but this has like an extra like layer of just like candy coating on top of it to me. Again, is it blowing me away? No. Is it my favorite Maker's Mark wood finishing? I don't know. I'm going to have to test that theory. I think my next live stream, what I'm going to be doing is doing all these in one flight and see which one is my favorite. This is all front mid palate. It's not like a super long finish on it. The finish is actually a little bit drying, I think, because a little bit of that smokiness that's on the back end there. But other than that, this is all front and mid palate. It's very sweet, a little bit of baking spice. I'm not going to say it's the most balanced thing I've had. I'm not really getting a lot of spice. This is just sweet. I mean, if you like sweet bourbons, this is right up your alley. That toasted oak from those staves that they use, those finishing staves, really come through. I'll give it a little bit of spice here on the finish. There's a little bit of a spiciness to it, but I think it comes more in the form of like barrel char, cinnamon, a little bit of like a baking spice. Kind of lingers there for a little bit. I don't know. It's one of those bottles where I think it's good, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. It doesn't really wow me. Let's go with the final breakdown here. All right, final breakdown on the Maker's Mark BEP. All right, so price, we said $70. Secondary market value or inflated market value, I've seen these as high as about 125-ish, which still isn't that bad for a limited release from a big distiller. Availability, I mean, it's Maker's Mark. This is a nationwide release. I think you have a pretty good shot at finding this if you search for it. Being that this is the last one, though, you know, it's the last ride, the last dance, whatever you want to call it, for the wood finishing series. This one might be a little bit harder to find. Last year's, I think, those kind of hung out for a good minute. But being that this is the last one, these might move and sell a little bit faster, but the availability on this is going to be pretty damn good. Value for this one, the value on this is high. And I'll always say that about Maker's Mark wood finishing series because, I mean, look at the limited releases today, you know, in the market. Generally, they're all, what, 100, 150, 200, sometimes 250, sometimes even higher than that. So for a big name distiller like Maker's Mark to bring these out for about 60 or 70 bucks, it's a high value. Most I pay for this one, I like this right at 70. This isn't, you know, it's not blowing me away, but I'm happy to have the last BEP for 70 bucks. Alternatives. If you want to try something that's readily available and has a low entry proof, I'm not going to say it's 110 on the dot, but try, you know, the wheated bourbon from Wilderness Trail. It's a wheater. Now, it doesn't have the stay finishing that this does, but it allows you to try a wheated bourbon that also has a low entry proof. We talked about Michter's small batch bourbon. Peerless bourbon is another one. They're going in the barrel at, I think, 107 proof, which is a little bit closer to this one at 110. So there's a lot of options out there if you want to try something going in the barrel at a lower entry proof. I'll recommend, is this a skip? Is it a try before you buy? Is it a buy or is it a buy and back it up? For me, this is just going to stay solid at a buy. And I'm strictly saying that because it's the last one. And if you could find it at 70 or sometimes even cheaper, I think it's a buy. This is one of those bourbons that I think everybody will like, or most people will like. I mean, every palate's different, I get it. But again, a big distiller bringing out a limited release, the last release, for $70. You can find it at 70. Listen, everyone's going to have their favorite wood finishing series release, whether it be the FAE, whether it be, you know, the BRTs, or whatever it may be. Everyone's going to have their opinion what their favorite is. I will say this one, though, even though it might not be the most unique, I do think people will like the flavors because it is pretty sweet. So again, I'm gonna have to test that theory when I put this up against all the other Maker's Mark wood finishing series in a blind tasting and see which one wins out. But for $70 for the last one, I think it's worth it. All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed this video on the new Maker's Mark BEP, the last dance for the wood finishing series. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Let me know what you think about this one. And again, Maker's Mark fans, are you sad to see this series ending? And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers. See you next time right here on the Mash and Drum. Take care, everybody.